Hey there, it's Ill Factor from beatacademy.com. And in this video, I'm going to be sharing some music production tips and techniques while recreating Juice Wrld's Wishing Well. Definitely stay tuned throughout the whole video because I'm going to be sharing how you can add some really cool life to some boring piano chords. So without further ado, let's dive right in. All right, let's check out the finished product. All right, let's start by focusing in on the drums. So we've got the drum rack here in Ableton Live. We're loaded with a couple sounds, and we've got our kick and clap pattern. Let's check them out. Now let's go ahead and incorporate a hi-hat pattern. So I'm going to hit the B key on my computer keyboard. That's going to change it to our pencil tool, and we're going to draw in. So using the command 1 and 2, I'm going to adjust my grid so that I can change the subdivision. So you notice the first two hits are the 16th note, and the next ones are the 8th notes. Cool. Now let's eliminate these hi-hats and put an open hi-hat here, and just use the bracket to extend that. Now you notice that once this open hi-hat plays, it overlapped the close hi-hat a little bit. So let's go ahead and use what we call a choke number to cause the open hi-hat to close anytime the close hi-hat plays. So to do this, let's open our drum rack here and go to our open hi-hat, which is this one here. And right over here where it says none, you're going to assign a number to this sound. So we're going to choose 1. And anything with the same number will cancel or choke each other out. So close hi-hat here, right? Let's go ahead and make that a number 1 as well. And so what that means is the moment that one of these sounds are playing, they will cancel or choke each other out. So now let's listen to the open hi-hat. So you notice that it stopped immediately when the close hi-hat played. So if we move this and place it here, it makes that sample shorter. So rather than going to the sample and adjusting the length or trimming it down or adjusting the release of it, you could leave it the way it is and use choking as a way to come up with cool nuances and differences of rhythm when you're programming your drums. Now I'm going to want to layer this kick drum. And the reason why is because we have a nice beefy bottom kick, but I want to have a extra layer on the top so that there's a little bit more thump coming through, more of that little clickiness happening. So I'm going to go to the Beat Academy sample pack and just go to the one shots folder, and in the kick category, browse for this might work. This one here. So what I'm going to do is click the kick simpler and the kick, and then just hit Command G. And that's going to allow me to layer this kick drum. So now we can click and drag the sample here. And now both samples will be triggered by the pattern. So let's just solo that second layer. You can barely hear it. So what I'm going to do is take away the low end by putting the high pass filter on. And we're going to put some filter drive there and crank that. It's really just for knock right here. So just give it a little bit more presence. This is without it. And that helps just create that little bit of presence that I'm looking for on the top end. All right, now let's go ahead and add a drum bus plugin right on top of the drum rack. And this is going to add some saturation to the input signal, add some nice crunch to the mids, and we're going to dampen a little bit and sharpen up the transients. And so just a little bit more transients. And we have a lot of low end from that kick, but we can just squeeze in a little bit more. And just lower that clap just a little bit. Now with the saturation there, I can hear some of the low end creeping in from that hi-hat. So I'm going to put an EQ on it. and just, and I'll copy that right over to the open hi-hat as well. All right, next, let's go ahead and put the guitar riff that we hear on the reference. So for this, I'm going to be using Native Instruments Electric Sunburst, and I'm going to go with the straightforward pattern. We just basically need a straightforward strumming here. Now, let's go ahead and solo this and listen to the chords. Now, we definitely have to change the tone. So let's go into the amp and effects and head over to the Van 51. It's using that cabinet or that amplifier. So let's just disable that, or actually go to the magnifying glass and choose AC box instead. And then lower the drive. And then we'll go to the cabinets and match that as well. So we'll put AC box A. And then right here in the guitar settings, we can also determine the pickup as well. So let's see what both do. I like having it both, and I'm just going to lower the neck pickup just a little bit. And adjust the fretting. Now, if I want a little bit of the miking, just a little bit of that. All right, cool. Now, here are the chords. And now that we've got that down, let's go ahead and do a little EQing. So I'm going to use EQ 8. Let's take this out. And what I'm looking for is just a little bit more of this tone here. I want a little bit more of that present. So boost that out. And I'll go ahead and just warm that up a little bit. Now, let's go ahead and add some chorus. And I'm using this because I want it to widen up a little bit. I want to give it some stereo depth. And this kind of, chorus really does a really great job of kind of smearing the sound. So kind of just like bleeds over to a lot of other things in the project. That's cool there. And then we're going to go to compressor, but I'm going to use this for side chaining. And so it's good that we have the drums down, because now we can use the kick drum from our drum rack. We'll go ahead and choose kick. And this is going to be the source that's causing the guitar to duck. Every time we hear the kick, the guitars will duck out of the way. And that's the purpose of side chaining. And I'm doing this so that there's movement. And this is more of a musical decision. I want a little bit of pulse or movement happening to this guitar. And then just adjust maybe a little bit release, so it comes back up slowly. Let's put this with the drums. I'm going to raise the output here a little bit. Now I've got a reverb here. I have a Valhalla vintage verb on my return track D. I think by just default, I have them already loaded. And so when I start a new project, it starts with that. And if you're curious on how to do that, you can simply just go to your preference window, set everything up the way you like it, head over to File and Folder, and then just choose Save Current Set as Default. If I hit Save now, it will literally save with the drum rack, the pattern, the guitar, everything on my return tracks. If I have anything on my master bus, it'll save it just like that. And that'll be the startup template for every time you load Ableton Live. Just a heads up. So I've got the reverb there and an EQ. I'm EQing the reverb after it so we can get a nice warm reverb. I'm going to send a little bit of that to the guitar. Just gives it some nice space. All right, now let's go ahead and focus on the bass. So for this, I'm going to use Ableton Live's wavetable. Any 2 oscillator synth will work on your DAW. And as I listen to the bass line in the reference, in the Juice Wrld record, I'm noticing that at first I thought it was a sine wave because, it's just a nice subby low-end bass. But there's some width to it as I really focus in and listen to the bass. It's got some width, and I was like, okay, well then it might be a sawtooth and just detuned and filtered out. So that's exactly what we're going to be doing here. So I'm going to start by choosing a sawtooth and oscillator 1. And let me just solo that and listen to the bass line. So let's stop all that overlapping by going from polyphonic to mono, and then let's go a whole octave lower. So we're in semitones, -12. Then let's enable oscillator 2 and also choose a sawtooth, but this one's going to be detuned. So I went about 38 or about 29. I detuned it up 29 cents. It's really up to you. The more you detune it, the more it morphs, and you get that nice Hoover bass or that nice drum and bass type vibe. We're just going to detune it slightly. So I'll put it like that. And then lower the frequency knob here and raise the resonance up. Now, just to make it extra a little wide, we're going to turn the unison on. Because as you see the meter here, there's not a lot of movement left and right. So if we put the unison on, hit classic, now you're starting to see some movement from left and right. And now add some harmonic distortion. Really can't stress it enough of how much it really helps the bass just kind of become more hefty and sit well in the mix by adding some harmonic distortion. So any amp simulator plugin that you might have will do great. And I'll start off with the rock preset. Might be a little bit too much gain. Or the bass one. This is without it. Cool, and then we'll use the auto filter, or you can use an EQ. I'm just basically shaving off any high end that I don't want. So this is without the filter and the amp simulator. And let's lower the amount of the unison. And let's grab that sidechain that we got from the guitar. I'm going to hold Option, click and drag that over here. So that this is also going to give some pulse and sidechaining. All right, let's check that out. All right, next, let's focus on the piano. So I'm going to be using Excellent Audio's Addictive Keys and choosing the Modern Upright. Going to be going with this and the basic Modern Upright preset. And so let's go ahead and take a listen to the chords. Now, with this chord progression and pattern that we have here, it could get a little repetitive. And as you listen to the reference, there's a lot of there's some live playing going on. You know, the piano player is doing his thing. So if you can, I have another take here where I'm kind of just riffing around and playing around that the chord progression and adding some notes in there. Okay, but if you're not really savvy or, you know, there yet with your piano playing, here's a cool way you can implement and add some variations to some basic chord progressions. So going back to the basic piano, let's go over here to our MIDI effects, and we're going to choose the arpeggiator. So I'm going to click and drag the arpeggiator right before the addictive keys. And what this is going to do is this is going to create intervals at every eighth note. So first, let's open up the gate, and then let's choose step 1 so that it goes in an increment of 12 semitones. So this is going to go a whole octave higher. Now, what we need to do is turn the velocity on so that the arpeggiated notes will have some difference in velocity as if you were playing them live. And we'll hit the re-trigger as well, so it kind of re-triggers the sequence. And then we'll hit decay a little bit lower and just kind of experiment with this. So what I'm gonna do is turn the arpeggiator off, let the chord play, and then turn it on every now and then to add some of that arpeggiated notes to add, a little bit of life to that. Now we notice that it shuts off when you turn off the arpeggiator. So what we have to do is we can go ahead and write this in. We can show automation right here in the click and just choose in specific spots where you want the automation to perform. So for instance, let's duplicate this whole loop. We'll do it about 2 times there, and then go back in here and draw in the arpeggiated pattern here. Maybe we'll turn it off from this section here for about this length and then turn it off. And let's just try it here as well, just to check it out. So you see how it's adding those extra notes in there, which is pretty cool. So you can kind of just choose any specific section here and add some, little nuances there. So let's see what it sounds like when we start at this section. So what I would always do is not start at the very beginning of the note, but start it halfway so that the note is being sent to the arpeggiator, and then the arpeggiator adds the additional notes in there. And then let's extend this time a little bit. Also, we have the style set to up. So let's go ahead and choose random. So it's actually just choosing random notes that are being arpeggiated. Now let's go back and check this out again. Pretty cool. So you see how that arpeggiator becomes a helpful tool to add a little bit more life, as if you were, just adding some ad libs there in what you're performing. So now let's go ahead and hear this with the rest of the track. And I'm going to also take the same sidechain compression, put that in there, a little less of that though, and let's see what we have. Well, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope it was encouraging and inspiring as well. And as my gift to you for watching this video, I'd like to actually send you a sample pack. It's where I got the drum sounds from in this video. And so you can download the sample pack. It's absolutely for free. As well, you can download this Ableton Live session as well. You can follow along, rewatch this video and follow along step by step. So all this can be downloaded by visiting beatacademy.com/pack, or you can click the link below in the description box. So once again, be sure to subscribe so you can stay up to date with upcoming videos. Like the video, do all that craziness, hit the bell, breakdance fight, do whatever you got to do to stay on top of what's going on at this channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.